Let's go ahead and get started with the work session. I know folks have family commitments tonight. Derrick's on his way. He'll be here momentarily. I want to begin first by wishing two Alabama legends a happy birthday. First, Alabama former coach Nick Saban has a birthday, and the other legend is Mr. Jihad Al-Daka. Happy birthday. Let's walk through these items. I know we have Ms. Nan Baldwin from the chamber here. We'll get to you momentarily when Derrick gets here, if that's okay. Let's walk through some of these items. We'll pay bills, we'll approve minutes, and we'll begin with item number 3, the resolution appointing a member to the Downtown Redevelopment Authority. Ms. Dickerson?
Yes, this is to appoint Janine Bailey to the Downtown Redevelopment Authority to fill a vacancy.
This is the one we have continued on a couple of occasions, correct?
That is correct.
Very good. Any questions on that appointment? Item 4 is an appointment to the library board. Ms. Dickerson?
Yes, and that's a reappointment to the library board, so that'll be, let's see, that will be reappointing, I'm gonna pull this up for y'all too so you can see it. Reappointing Lori Martin for a term to end the first day of December 2028.
Very good. Any questions on that appointment? And number 5 is an agreement for property and casualty third-party administrator. Ms. Carrier's here.
Good evening, thank you. Risk Management has 2 items tonight for your consideration. And with me I have James Brittle, the city's insurance consultant, who helps us place our insurance coverages. The first item is a renewal of a property and casualty third-party administrator with Davies Claim Services. You may recall that the city has both a workers' comp TPA and a property and casualty third-party administrator, so this item is up for renewal. We have a 2-year flat rate agreement with them with a 10% increase. We're happy with the service. This would be our 18th year with this company, and we are recommending renewal. It is within budget.
A 10% increase, where is that comparing to previous years?
We had a 2-year flat rate 2 years ago, and I think we had an 8% before that. And then before that, the 4 years prior, there was no increase.
All right, any other questions on that item? All right, thank you. And then item 6?
Yes, and so this item is the renewal of the casualty insurance with our travelers insurance policy. This is coverage for our liability, our general liability, our police liability, our automobile liability, and this would be our 4th year of business with travelers. We're very happy with the coverage. This does equate to a 13% increase this year. However, there was no reduction in coverages, and our SIR deductible remained the same, so we're happy about that. So we also are recommending renewing that policy for travelers.
Very well. Any questions for Ms. Carrier on that item? And you both will be back Monday night in case we have one.
Absolutely.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Exo Fountain is here. Resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Alabama Wildlife Center. Annual renewal, I assume, Exo?
Yes, sir. Actually, 7 through 12 are the same. They're the community grants that we give out to our partners every year. So it's all the same.
All right, let's walk through those quickly. As I said, 7 is Alabama Wildlife Center. Number 8 is an agreement with Crime Stoppers. We've been partnered with them for many, many years. Item 9 is an agreement with One Place Metro Alabama Family Justice Center. 10 is an agreement with Prescott House. 11 is an agreement with the Humane Society of Shelby County. And 12 is an agreement with the Playhouse, which is the equivalent of the Prescott House in the best way.
Great.
Any questions for any of those items? Very well.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Cobalt and Mr. Pepper are here for item 13. This is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with the Greater Birmingham CDB to receive funds for the SEC.
Yes, this is a new agreement with the Convention and Visitors Bureau The past 2 years, they have provided $125,000 to go towards the expenses for the tournament. And this is a new agreement for the same term that we have with the SEC, and it increases the contribution to $200,000.
Very good. I know that's much appreciated. With the coming in of Texas and Oklahoma, the CDB saw fit to expand their commitment to the tournament.
Yes, they're very good partners.
We're very thankful for that. Any questions on that item? Item 14 is resolution amending the budget for the continuation of funds for the CDB. So, part 2 to item 13, correct, Ms. Cornell?
Okay, yeah, we can take that one. Yes, this is a request to allow us to accept the $200,000 grant from the SEC and to make the expenditures available in the budget as well.
Any questions for Ms. Cornell on that item? Very good. If you'll stick with us, Ms. Cornell, for number 15, amending the budget for the payment of Kroll Associates.
Yes, so this is a budget amendment that allows us to pay Wallace Jordan for the services from Kroll, the Kroll review team did for the city that we reported about last week, or last meeting. So this is the sum total of the services that were provided.
$236,152.
That's correct.
Any questions on that item?
Ms. Cornett did a good job last week, or not 2 weeks ago, doing that presentation. And I know, as everybody here on the dais knows, we've been receiving about probably 250 or something emails asking for Kroll to come here and have a town hall. And I know the presentation you did was good, but I know Mr. Slavic, the guy that did the investigation, who spoke here, I guess, a few months ago, he had made the comment that he'd be glad to come here and answer questions from the public. Have y'all considered doing that anytime soon?
We have considered it and decided not to. So, fair?
Yes, we've given our report on Kroll.
Very good. Any more questions? Item 16, Ms. Cornett, is a resolution amending the budget to repair the access pole and lights at Sir Thomas.
Yes, this is probably an emergency repair. If you want to come up and talk a little bit about it. We had the light go out and tried to look at the pole and the pole crumbled and we decided that needed to be fixed.
That's basically it. The facility is heavily used by residents throughout the year. Doesn't look good if you have lights out at a popular facility, and we host tournaments there as well. We presented this at Park Board. The funds are coming from completed park projects, and that was approved, so next was to come to you all.
So this budget amendment does not require any new funding from the city, but all of those amounts there that are noted there with parentheses around them represent excess funding dollars left over from projects that have already been completed for Parks and Rec.
Very good. Any questions on that item? Item 17, Ms. Cornett, is a resolution authorizing the expenditure of funds for Elevate Hoover.
Yes, so this amount was budgeted for the chamber, right, for Elevate Hoover. And one of the things, I think Nana's going to come and do a presentation. I don't know when that is happening. But this is the agreement or permission to be able to spend that dollar amount. We had budgeted already, but there was a question from council about wanting to have a presentation from the chamber before we release the funding. So this is that request.
Very good. And we will have that presentation momentarily.
Okay.
Ms. Moore is here for item 18.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I would like, since the other council members aren't here tonight, I would like to move item 17 to the regular agenda for Monday night.
We can do that on Monday. Ms. Moore, I'm ready.
Yeah, good evening. Have a resolution to bring retired police lieutenant Matt Tomberlin in to do accreditation consultation He has expertise in the accreditation process as he was instrumental with the CALEA accreditation for our police department. And we're pursuing that same CALEA accreditation for the 911 center, so we'd like to utilize his talents. It is budgeted, so.
Yeah, I know
No
Mr.
additional
Mr. Tomlin has been quite instrumental in helping us on those. I know he would help you as well too. Any questions for Mr. Moore on that item? Very good. And item number 19, Mr. Reeves. Welcome in. This is a resolution to provide a process and guidelines for acceptance of sidewalks, something I know we've been working on
Yes, sir.
for a long time.
Yes, sir, we have. Thank you, Mr. Lyda. We have been working with our Public Works Department and the City Attorney's Office to develop these guidelines. The proposal outlines the requirements for potential future acceptance and maintenance by the City Council for existing sidewalk infrastructure located in the public right-of-way by the City Council. This is primarily for subdivisions that were constructed in the city prior to 2016. We're not sure why, but prior to 2016, the application process did not have a methodology to accept sidewalks in these subdivisions. So it has put the maintenance responsibilities either on the individual residents, the HOAs, or the developers to go back and do that. So where that's given us issues, just for instance, say Ross Bridge, Southampton was done after this 2016 date, Northampton was done before. So our public works can go to Southampton and repair sidewalks, but they can't to Northampton. This gives us a process to go in and work with that HOA. We'll follow the same process we do with acceptance and improvements now. They'll fill out an application, we'll inspect it. The HOA or developers, they will be responsible for making any repairs to bring them up to our regulations or to meet ADA requirements. We'll go back and inspect it again. If they meet all of our requirements, we'll bring those back to the City Council for acceptance at that time. There are some additional guidelines associated with this. We won't accept any sidewalks that have street trees. It has to be approved by the Planning Commission by final plat, prior to 2016. And we will not do landscape maintenance, pressure washing, or such items as that. It will only be maintenance on the infrastructure of the sidewalk.
Very good. I know y'all worked very hard and been very methodical in coming up with that new policy and guideline. Any questions for Mr. Reeves on that item?
I just got one. All these new guidelines that are going into effect, do you suspect that when these guidelines get enforced, how many neighborhoods going forward will have to change to adhere and what that cost might be?
I do not, and it will depend. We're basically getting requests from just about every subdivision because of that timeline. So it doesn't, the requests we're getting are not major repairs, but we'll have to look at items such as the handicap ramps to make sure they're in compliance. There will be a cost to that, but it will depend on how many ramps are in that subdivision or in that phase of that subdivision. So we'll have to look at that case by case.
I'm assuming most of the subdivisions 216 and beyond ahead are compliant with ADA, most of them.
Yes, sir. We did review and accept those. The acceptance program came to engineering in 2017, and from that point forward, we have reviewed and checked everything for acceptance.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions, Mr. Reeves?
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and move through our regular agenda items. Resolution number 832224, Ms. Dickerson, is a declaration of vacation.
Yes, this is for a utility easement to be vacated at the property located at 270 Shades Crest Road. And this is the map of the easement area right here. It's on the screen. And all the utilities has given letters for okay to, and it has went before planning and zoning, and they have approved it. And some units coming before y'all for the final approval.
Very good, Mr. Murphy?
Yeah, just, and you don't have the answer right now, but we did receive communication back from all the utilities,
That's correct.
so, okay.
Item 21 is also a vacation. If you'd like to review that one, Ms. Dickerson.
Yes, that's for a storm easement located on lot 613, Preserve 15. And it's also, we received all the letters back from the utility companies, and they were okay with the request. It went before planning and zoning this last month. They were okay with this request, and now it's going for y'all for final approval. And the section that's located on the screen.
Any questions for Ms. Dickerson on that item? And I know Mr. Martin is not here. However, we've got some declarations of nuisances, beginning with 1062 Oak Tree Road, Ms. Dickerson.
Yes, that's correct. This is for declaring the nuisance for 1062 Oak Tree Road. And we will have pictures on Monday night for that. And then for the next one, it's for 3445 Sierra Drive. And again, we'll have pictures for both of those on Monday night.
Very good. And then first reading on 3 new properties for abatements. 425 Shades Avenue, 2337 Tyler Road, and 2344 Mountain Oaks Lane. Ms. Dickerson, I assume we'll also get a report on these Monday night.
Yes, that's correct. And these are all first reads, so we may not have pictures Monday night for it, but we will for the next time.
Very good. Any questions on any of those three? Ms. Baldwin, thank you for your patience. You're welcome to come to the podium and present on Elevate Hoover, please, ma'am.
Thank you. As Councilor Lyda said, I'm Nan Baldwin. I'm President and CEO of the Hoover Area Chamber of Commerce. To Mayor Cato, City Councilors, on behalf of the Hoover Area Chamber of Commerce, the board, I have our board chairman, Mr. Rowan Vanderwaller, with us tonight, staff members, Laura Gross, and to our 864 members of the chamber, I want to thank you for this opportunity to share our update on Elevate Hoover. The purpose of this update is to show you what we've accomplished in 2024 with the Elevate Hoover plan, but more importantly, to give you a clear understanding of what we plan to do with the funds moving forward, which drives continued need for funding from the city. Imagine being the most sought after city in the Southeast when it comes to relocating a business. Hoover can be that city. Now we know Hoover has a lot to offer, but do others know this? I had someone tell me once that you must toot your own horn, because if you don't, no one else will. So how do we help others find out what all Hoover has to offer? We have to tell our own story. We cannot rely on anyone else, especially anyone else in the region, to tell our story for us. It requires a joint effort. The city of Hoover was built on community and commerce. And in order to sustain and grow, it requires the city to attract businesses, to relocate and start here, and for the chamber, once those businesses come here, to retain those businesses by helping them to grow and become a part of the community. That's what Elevate Hoover is all about. It connects both the city and the chamber. It enhances the partnership between the city and the chamber. It provides a platform for public and private sector leaders to work together on shared community and economic needs, goals, and opportunities. It's a multi-year strategic initiative, but clearly the things we plan can't be done in 1 year. That's why each year we have short-term priorities that will require annual funding. The strategic plan engages both public and private stakeholders through funding support. This means that to achieve the goals of this plan, we are not solely relying on funding from the city, but also it will require funding from the business community. The Elevate Hoover plan has 3 pillars: to foster economic growth, and we began working on that pillar this year; to be the voice of business, which we did a little bit this year, but we have plans to start a more robust campaign and launch it in 2025. And it's also to cultivate talent. Now, cultivating talent is ongoing, but we have some very intentional programming that we'll roll out in mid-2025. So let's start with pillar 1, foster economic growth. Our goals under this pillar are to raise awareness of economic and community development efforts. Remember, we must tell our own story. To create a thriving business ecosystem, which basically means providing a network of resources and being a connector of those resources for our small and mid-sized businesses in Hoover. And we must encourage people to live, work, and play in Hoover. Now, we've seen many of our neighboring cities that have fallen by the wayside because businesses moved, neighborhoods deteriorated, and the school systems are now on a decline as a result. This will happen to our great city, Hoover, if we sit idle. But I am happy to say that we have not sat idle in 2024. Here's a recap of some of the initiatives we've accomplished with the funding you all have previously given us to foster economic growth in our city. We organized and hosted the Mayor's State of the City address this past January that was held at the Winfrey Hotel, where more than 400 people attended. And we are slated to host it again next year, January 21st at the Winfrey Hotel. We dedicated our March Chamber Luncheon to the city's first responders and gave out public safety awards. We recognize our veterans at our July Chamber Luncheon because we understand the importance of honoring and recognizing those individuals that keep our streets safe, our communities a great place to live, and our country free. We also work closely with Leadership Hoover and hosted its Ignite Hoover Youth Leadership Group at our chamber for their Small Business Day, where they went around to several small businesses in the city to learn what it means to be a small business owner and an entrepreneur. Other things we accomplished this past year under Pillar 1 is that we partner with member businesses and organizations to provide support, resources, and tools for small and mid-sized businesses. We did programming like offered free business coaching to chamber members and non-members. We held quarterly leadership luncheon speaker series where entrepreneurs were able to hear from industry experts on how to succeed in business. We collaborated and partnered with numerous organizations like the Small Business Administration, Operation Hope, and others to create a resource ecosystem for Hoover small businesses. And we offered member-to-member discounts to businesses to help them grow, advertise, and promote their businesses. Now, these things are catalysts for fostering economic growth in our business community. Some other accomplishments we did, because we didn't stop and rest on our laurels of the things I just talked about. We also hired a local marketing consulting firm, Content Logistics, to increase our social media presence for both the chamber and our member businesses. We live in a digital age, and you know that if you don't see it on social media, you have a tendency to think that it did not happen. So we had to increase our impressions and our hits and our likes on Facebook. With the work and the support of Content Logistics, by increasing what we publicize on Facebook, our impressions increased by 101%. Our Instagram impressions increased by 40.5%, and our LinkedIn impressions increased by 249%. Through our aggressive social media efforts, we are showing that the chamber and our local businesses are doing things. Content Logistics also conducted research and held focus groups with community leaders and stakeholders to better understand the needs of our city. What that research revealed through a SWOT analysis was that our strength is that Hoover has a great quality of life, but we know that, that's not a surprise to any of us. But our weaknesses is that we do not have an entertainment center or a vibrant entertainment district. But we're working on that with opportunities like Riverwalk Village. And our greatest threats are our neighboring cities. They are catching up because of their aggressive and methodical approach to actively marketing their cities. Now, if you're like me and watch a lot of television, you've seen the commercials where they're touting how they have wonderful neighborhoods, great places to shop, and award-winning schools. Well, our research revealed that Hoover has a lot to offer. We know that Hoover is a safe place to raise a family. We know that it's a smart place to start a business and a natural place to unwind and enjoy life. So the result of that research is that we need to have our own quality of place branding campaign. And that's what we came up with this past year with the funding that you gave us, a campaign concept that's called Hoover, More of What Matters. Now in 2025, we plan to bring that campaign to life. With the support of the funding that you'll provide us, Hoover, More of What Matters will create stills that can be placed on social media, used in slide presentations, put in print advertisements, and on signage. Imagine looking on Facebook and seeing a post that says, "You're never more than 5 minutes from a trail and 2 minutes if you run. Hoover, more of what matters." Or opening a magazine and seeing an ad that says, "We're proud of our diverse city. Hoover, more of what matters." Or walking through the airport and seeing signage that reads, "Where life meets style. Hoover, more of what matters." Now, to bring that quality of place branding campaign to life requires a media plan, which obviously means you have to have media buys. Content Logistics, a marketing firm, is in early talks with a local television station, their marketing department, to help develop a media buying strategy. That strategy will center around targeting businesses that are looking to relocate and talent that is looking for jobs and careers in our target industries. Our campaign could be shown in the markets where major site selection and talent attraction conferences are being held in 2025. Another exciting initiative that we're planning with the funds provided is to apply for the 2025 All-America City Award from the National Civic League. It's been 11 years since a city in Alabama has been recognized as an All-America City, and 12 years since there's been one named in the region. The theme for 2025 is strengthening environmental sustainability through inclusive community engagement. This is an ideal theme for Hoover because of all the work that has been done with the city's Park and Public Spaces Plan, which is an award-winning plan, and is shaping the future of our parks, trails, public spaces, and recreational programming. Also, we will highlight Alabama Power's Smart Neighborhood in Hoover's Reynolds Landing at Ross Bridge, which is an award-winning environmental and energy efficient community. Additionally, we will showcase the citywide energy efficiency plan that resulted in upgrading the city's energy and utility systems. Hundreds of cities across the U.S. will present proposals in February, but only 10 will be named an All-America City. We hope that Hoover will be among the finalists and invited to Denver, Colorado next June to be named a 2025 All-America City. Now next, let's look at Pillar 2. Let us turn our attention to being the voice of business. This pillar has 3 goals. to inform the business community, to encourage government relations, and to support diversity, inclusion, and belonging. We've already begun working this year to increase our presence and to be more of a voice for Hoover businesses, evident in that we supported the city's Certificate of Need application and organized a group of chamber members, board members, and staff to join the city in Montgomery for the CON hearing in September, which was successful, I would say. And in 2025, our plans will be to be more of an advocate for businesses. This will be a year to build stronger relationships with local, state, and federal legislative representatives. Now, we understand the importance of the city having a distinctive voice on the issues that are specific to Hoover. We need for our representatives to understand what those issues are, and the only way they will know is that we have more intentional dialogue with them. So to do so, we will establish a Chamber Governmental Affairs Committee made up of Hoover business leaders, and we'll conduct quarterly meetings. We will convene a Hoover Chamber Day at the State Capitol during the 2025 legislative session, and we will partner with the city to create a Hoover-centric legislative agenda. And we will partner with the city to host a legislative dinner with our local elected officials and our state and federal legislative representatives. Again, we have to tell our own story, and we have to advocate for ourselves. We cannot rely on anyone else to do that for us. So with a partnership between the city and the chamber, we'll do so. Other plans we have under Pillar 2 is to establish a Women's Business and Leadership Council. The council will provide support for women business owners and entrepreneurs beyond your typical networking luncheon. We're planning a training and workshop series in 3 areas of need for women: financial literacy, leadership, and wellness. Now, we are excited about this new program, and we're also in talks with the private sector to get additional funding to support this much needed program. So let's move on to Pillar 3, cultivate talent. This is the last, but certainly not least, of the Elevate Hoover pillars. The 3 goals under this pillar are to support homegrown talent for businesses, be the employers of choice, and attract talent to Hoover. So our plans under Pillar 3 is, first of all, cultivating talent is ongoing. It doesn't start one year and stop one year. It's an ongoing process. But you must be intentional and methodical. So we will create a talent attraction marketing deliverables as part of the Hoover More What Matters campaign. We will build a pipeline between the Hoover City Schools, the RC3, and businesses in the academy targets you see listed on the slide. And we will partner with our area 2-year colleges to build a workforce pipeline. Now, we have award-winning schools, and we have top talent that's coming out of those schools. We have businesses that need talent. So we, the chamber, will be the connector to connect the students to those businesses. And by doing so, we will create a workforce of homegrown talent, which will perpetuate the sustainability of our community. Now, that's Elevate Hoover. That's the short term and long term and what we plan to do next year. My intent this evening was to share with you what we've accomplished in 2024, and more importantly, to share with you what we plan to accomplish in 2025. The vision of this plan is for the city of Hoover to be the leading community with thriving businesses and top talent, while advancing diverse and inclusive opportunities for all. The Chamber's mission in that effort is to serve as the catalyst for economic growth by fostering cooperative partnerships and advocating for our stakeholders. The only way we can do this is by continuing the partnership between the city and the Chamber to elevate Hoover. Therefore, we humbly ask you to fund Elevate Hoover in 2025. Because you see, every city needs and deserves a chamber. As I conclude, I would like for you to take a look at this 1-minute video. There is energy and excitement around the chamber. And instead of me saying it and trying to persuade and convince you, we thought it would be better coming from the voices of our area businesses.
Tonight we have our first ever Chamber of Commerce open house for members and non-members. So we're really excited bringing everybody together to meet new friends, new business acquaintances, and people that they can network together and hopefully grow long-lasting relationships with one another.
Really excited to be here today, and I want to grow. I think I can grow my business very fast. Interacting with different types, different areas, different people. So they have running businesses and they have a lot of experience, and some are really related to my business. So I can buy some reagents, chemical from them, I can get help.
My business is a CPA firm, BMSS LLC, and I've just been blown away by the quality of people that attend the luncheons and events, and I'm just happy to be associated with this group.
I'm a big social butterfly. I love to meet people. I love to help people out as well, so that's what I'm hoping I get out of the membership promotion.
Be involved in something greater than myself and in the community, and I feel like being involved with the Chamber is the first step to that, and to be an ambassador with the Hoover Chamber is applying yourself to that. So that's I feel like it's in the way of me applying myself to be more involved in a community that I want to grow in.
I enjoy connecting people with each other, so just helping to build those connections so people have the resources they need for their businesses or even in their personal lives.
Thank you, and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much, Ms. Baldwin. Any questions from Mr. Murphy, Mr. McClinton?
I do. Well, firstly, thank you so much. I am 140% behind the chambers. When I was in the private sector, it's amazing how the environment is changing. We had individuals that although you were in very nice buildings, it wasn't any type of walkability or restaurants around, and they were in food deserts. We had individuals that left for a pay cut to go to certain areas because they had consistent street festivals and things of that nature. So my point is, we have a totally different market now, especially after post-COVID. Individuals and our youth, and even regardless of your age, want to be around those type of environments. Yes, it is other attractive places that are growing, and when you begin to start looking at interstate improvements, the more improvements with interstates, that's why areas are developed. I-22 is a prime example. Eventually that area begin to develop, and now they're doing the northern belt line. So when we start looking at getting from point A to point B, how those areas begin to develop. So the city of Hoover has to be very cautious to make sure we get ahead of that. At the same time, making sure public safety is also maintained as well too, and giving chiefs the things that they need. So thank you for that, and thank you for the mayor for all the work he and his team are doing. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
Hey, Ms. Dan, how you doing?
Thank you.
I had a question. So, before you got here, I remember last September, the chamber came to us, asked for a public commitment, about 1.2 or 1.5 million over 5 years. And it was needed because if we didn't do our side of it, then the private side would not see the buy-in from the city of Hoover. So we did that last year. So I guess I'm asking you, of the $300,000 that we did last year, how much did the chamber raise last year in this commitment?
I would say that a couple of things. First of all, to be totally transparent, the chamber raised only 40% of that match. And the problem was, as you all know, and some of you may not, I was hired July of 2024, so I've only been here 4 months. So once that commitment was made and the funds were given, Unfortunately, the previous leadership resigned and moved on to another position. And it left the chamber in a position to where they had to find interim leadership. So the board made a decision to put a halt on the funding, the raising the funds, to continue raising the funds until they found permanent leadership. That took about 6 months, and during that 6-month period, the person that was originally hired to help with the funding for Elevate Hoover took on the role of the interim president. And so funding was not secured. The continuation of the funding was not secured for 6 months, so that put us 6 months behind the 8 ball. Since I've been on board, I've continued to talk to our board and talk to other businesses about getting them re-engaged and recommitted. So once, what they're doing, in all honesty, again to be transparent, is waiting to see if the city is going to continue to fund. I do have commitments from all of my board members that those who have not given but have pledged and said if the city's on board, we're on board. But I've also done with my mighty staff of 3, so we have 3.5 people on our staff, is said that regardless of the funding, there's some things that you saw in my presentation that we're going to do anyway, and we're going to continue to elevate and get funding from the private community, because we recognize that we cannot only rely on the public funding. So my plan is to continue raising funds from the private community to beef up where we stalled for 6 months, and we have downsized some of the things that we're going to be doing to make sure that we can make the commitments that I put in this presentation.
I appreciate that. And you should know, I'm not here trying to put you in a corner.
No, I know.
I'm a small business owner. I have my office at Galleria Tower.
Yes.
So I know what it's like to not only sign the back of a paycheck, but the front of the paycheck. And usually when you have a business, you're the last one to get paid.
Yes.
Unlike government, they always get paid. So you say 40%, how much in dollar amount is that?
Last year, from the private sector, we raised $60,000 of the, and from the city providing $300,000. It was a total of $360,000 that was raised last year. And this year, we already have a commitment of $80,000 from the private sector, from our board members, as well as some grants that we're looking at, that we're finalists for those. So I think I'm well on my way. I've projected and had a board meeting this past week that we're looking at trying to raise an additional $200,000 this year to match what you all hopefully will give us.
The reason I ask, because before you got here, I remember when Miss Bass was here telling us that she's going to resign, and I remember Mr. Posey asked her, is this going to cause any kind of slowdown? And she said no. They would still try to raise that money and take care of things. So the reason why I asked this, and I guess it seems like I'm being the jerk up here.
No, you're not. You're fiduciary of the city's funds.
Trust me, I've been called lots of things, lots of times. So I appreciate what you're doing. But at the same time, I know that the mayor just asked all these department heads to make 10% cuts across the board. And to me, I'm trying to be that good fiduciary. And so that's why I want to have this presented next Monday, because I think the other council members should see this, ask questions as well. I admire what you're trying to accomplish. I admire what the chamber's trying to accomplish. It's just that it gives me a little pause knowing that X has not been raised. But we were told last year that if we didn't do our part, private sector wouldn't come in. And now the private sector is waiting to find out, do we do some more? But you see what I'm getting at?
I hear you, but also understand what you just said was that my predecessor told you that the funding would continue. I'm not sure how she could say that if she wasn't in place to actually guarantee that. I can only speak for myself from July forward. And I do know, after looking at the books, after looking at what took place, that the chamber board and their decision to put a pause on it, it's very difficult to go to businesses and ask them to buy into something without permanent leadership. So that's what they were faced with. And so I can tell you that I don't have plans to go anywhere. And I can tell you that I understand the city reducing its commitment by 2/3. But I can also tell you that what I put together in this presentation, what my staff has planned, what the board is supportive of, and the commitments that we have with our board members, the corporate community, is that I'm going full throttle in raising those funds needed. And again, as I said in the presentation, it was a 5-year plan, but you can't do everything in 1 year. I think it was an overstatement originally to say fund us with 1.5 or 3.5, whatever the dollar amount was. I'm a realist, and the reality is you have to take things in smaller chunks. So I'm looking at the possibility of doing what we need to do in 2025 with a $200,000 or $250,000 budget, which I'll be raising those additional funds from the business community. So I'm not gonna stand here and spit out dollars, you know, as though they grow on trees. Because I've been in the corporate community, and I've seen corporate America and corporate Alabama and corporate Hoover having to dial back as well. So we've dialed back our expectations, but we still believe that we're going to give you a quality product. And as my last slide said, this city deserves a chamber. And it would be very unfortunate if the city pulled back all of its funding because the business community is looking. And if the city doesn't believe in a chamber, then it's going to be very difficult for those businesses to say we believe in you without the support of the city.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Ms. Dickerson, if you would please send the presentation along with video out to the council members this afternoon.
Yes, I will.
And to reiterate, the budget proposal does include a 66% cut
Yes.
this year.
Yes, that's why I said 2/3.
Yeah, so it's 66% cut.
Mhm.
I know it was mentioned we asked department heads to cut 10%. We're asking you to cut 66%.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Any other kind of questions? Very good. That brings us to the end of our agenda. See you all Monday.